Of course, my presenter notes went away as soon as I did that, so one sec. I'm going to reshare my screen. Okay. Can you see the slides here?
Yes.
Can you see me? Probably not. My webcam is not working very well.
Actually,
Is
you
it
can be
okay?
seen. Yeah, you can
Oh,
be
good.
seen.
Yeah, in my view, it looks really dark, but hopefully you can see me. Um, Thank you for joining us today, Matt. I'm going to have you start the recording if you can.
It's already going.
Awesome. We're already recording. We're live. Well, thank you for joining us today. It's the March 2025 Lunch and Learn. I'm Jenna Clitter, and I'm joined here by Matt Goins, who you also see on camp, and we also have several members of the WiscWeb team here with us today. So for our agenda, we will first be digging into some information related to user testing in Gutenberg. And second, we'll just note some reminders about next steps for Gutenberg. Then we'll review a little issue that we learned about related to FactStaff image display in Chrome. And finally, we'll run through an issue where we notified users yesterday of a pesky WP data tables and Google Sheets issue, and we can talk about workarounds for that. Before we chat about user testing and give that little recap, I just want to give a big thanks to all of you who were able to test the Gutenberg theme. Your feedback was extremely valuable to us, and you all are just wonderful. So thank you so much for taking that time. I know it's an added lift to your plate, and we really appreciate it. So in terms of how user testing went, this is a little recap of the data that we have. As a reminder, the testing period was from February 10th through the 21st. We had an overwhelming response to our user testing opportunity with 142 folks requesting a testing site. Users were actually able to request a site right up until the last day of testing on the 21st. And we had two come in that day, and people actually still provided feedback. So just kind of remarkable. Again, like thank you for still doing it and working that into your schedules. It's amazing. We received a total of 58 feedback submissions, and we conducted 6 moderated user interviews. Shout out to Ketter Joyner and Matt Goins for scheduling those user interviews and hosting those. And then if you do still have any additional feedback, we'd love to still hear from you. We had over 240 pages built during this period, which is also kind of wild. Like some people built a whole lot of content, which is great. And your pages were super helpful in us understanding kind of the barriers that existed and kind of how people would be using the Gutenberg theme. In terms of what went well, there's several things that you noted enjoying about the new theme. I'm going to just synthesize just a couple here. These were more of the more prominent themes that we saw. First, folks were really excited about patterns, which is awesome. We are also really excited about patterns. Second, users really enjoyed the editing experience and design tools that were available in the Gutenberg editor, just overall an improvement. And third, a very exciting update for users was the ability to easily move things around on the page, doing that sort of drag and drop approach, which is more limited, obviously, in the standard DW theme. There are also themes that we saw on things that you said could be improved with the Gutenberg experience. I'm synthesizing again here, but these are a few things that sort of stood out to us from the feedback submissions. First, we heard from several folks that the UW link block was a bit confusing because it just doesn't show the text on the front end until you physically link to it. Thank you for those who noted this. It was helpful insight. We can definitely find improvements for that experience. Second, many users noted various types of training that they would like to see us include when the new theme rolls out. This was actually a question in the feedback form, but primarily this feedback focused on training users how to use the editor. but there were also a few other helpful nuggets that we've documented for future us to review when creating trainings and instructional documentation. And third, you all noted that you really want to make sure that we're thinking about the mobile experience. Many of you have tons of users who navigate your sites from their phones and felt it was important to improve this experience. So this was a great reminder for us, and we thank you for sharing that feedback. I pause here because I see a couple questions or maybe comments in the chat.
Oh, just chatting, just chat stuff.
Oh, yeah. Someone noted that the videos that Matt did really saved their skin when they started, and that's great to hear that was helpful.
Yeah, I will note that, like, I say it facetiously, training videos, you say. The intention is once we get closer to a fully released UW theme, I'm going to revamp
Yes.
the Canvas course for people to take advantage of that. And we are going to we're looking at different ways to deliver our documentation to folks to
Yes.
get it more in
That's a
front of
slide I
people.
have later.
Oh, never mind then.
We'll get
Moving on.
we'll get to that in a sec when we talk about timeline a little bit. Uh, there was another theme here that we saw and heard both in the Lunch and Learn where we chatted about this and in the feedback submissions, which was sort of like confusion around feature status. Several folks noted confusion about which features we were still planning, um, which we're still planning to be built. And we did share a list of the features that we were asking folks to test, but we neglected to include a list of those that were still under review or development. So thank you for noting this need. We are excited to share that we have created a status page that documents which features have been completed, including what the equivalent will be in Gutenberg, and which features are still in development or under review. So this is now linked from that Gutenberg transition webpage. Do you have a link handy, Matt? Otherwise, I can grab it and show folks where this is.
Or the status page.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll toss it in there.
Sorry, gonna move this. Anytime I move my screen, my presenter notes go away.
Mm.
Awesome. So Matt's going to throw that in the chat, but just sharing, we did share that via email as a thank you in the thank you note to all those who user tested, but just in case you didn't user test and you want to kind of see what we have cooking and where the stage of each build is, we do have that available. Linda asks, is there a link to the G status page from the WiscWeb website? Not yet, but we can add that. Good call, Linda. Just waiting in case there were other questions. Okay. And yeah, so just thank you for noting that. That was just something that we didn't think about, but totally makes sense. And now we can kind of keep that up for you all. And finally, I just want to call out something super special that I observed when reading your feedback. There was a question at the end of the feedback form that asked if there was anything else that you'd like to share with us. And this was a space for you to note anything that you didn't feel fit into other fields in the form. And so many of you use this space as an opportunity to thank us for our work on this project, which was incredibly heartwarming. This is a very small sample of some of the notes that you left for us. And I just want to say thank you for your kindness. As one new user noted, this really is a massive project, and it can be easy to downplay the amount of work involved. So I just really appreciate your sweet sentiments. This is something that I think we need more of on campus, and I just want to call it out here because I think it is wonderful to read. These little notes made us feel very appreciated. Thank you. Pause. I see a comment in the chat. Okay, we're good. All right, so what's up next? You saw this slide last time. It hasn't changed much, but just a reiteration, and this is what Matt was kind of chatting about earlier. This spring and summer, we'll continue building and modifying blocks to recreate features from the existing theme and incorporate your feedback from user testing. We'll also be continuing to build out that migration tooling that we've talked about in the past. And then this summer, we're going to be starting the build on like instructional and support materials, but that does not include the Canvas training yet. As Matt was noting, there will be some Canvas training, but we really need to make sure that that the features are fully built up before we do recordings because there are limitations in having to go back and edit. Um, but that's sort of what you can expect as next steps. Any questions about that? All right. And then next up, we just wanted to show something that a user wrote in about. This could be impacting you and you might not even know it yet. Maybe you don't use Chrome. Maybe you just didn't look at this page. But an issue was observed with the display of FactStaff imagery. I think particularly if you set your images to the standard 400 pixel square view and are looking at it in a Chrome browser, you may notice that the images are displaying slightly different sizes, kind of like what you see here in the slide. We believe this is related to a recent Chrome update. Other browsers like Firefox are not impacted by this. And we were able to make a small tweak to the Udemy theme to fix this bug, and that will roll out with the next release, which we have scheduled tentatively for late March. And then last up today, a conversation about WP data tables that are pulling from Google Sheets. This is erroring right now for a lot of folks. And the error reads, WP data tables was unable to access data, unauthorized access, please make file accessible. We emailed some information about what we know about this issue, but I wanted to recap here in case there are any questions. This is likely something related to Google making updates that break WP data tables. We've seen issues like this in the past, and we typically have to wait until the plugin vendor rolls out a fix. We have submitted a ticket with the vendor and have noticed that several other users of the plugin have also reached out to him. That just helps us know that the issue is not just a UW-Madison issue. And we did receive confirmation from the vendor and that they can recreate the error and have escalated the issue within their teams. There hasn't been a timeline shared though yet for when they intend to fix this. At this time, if you are concerned about your data not showing on your site, we're recommending one of two workarounds. You could download a CSV version of your data and upload it as a new table in WP data tables. Obviously, then if you make edits, you'll have to do that again, but it's just sort of a shorter term workaround so that your content is there. Or if it's maybe a smaller table, you could manually rebuild as a manual table that allows you to maybe more easily edit, but has a limitation of being a heavier lift for rebuilding. So as we learn more about this issue, we'll continue to update users. And when a fix is released, we'll plan to test and get that out as soon as possible. I'll just note some of you might be confused because you have Google Sheets, WP data tables, and you're not noticing an issue. Something we have observed is that it tends to be fine for older sheets, but it's the newer ones that have been erroring. So if you're not noticing this, that might be why. So to help you all out, in case you are looking at those workarounds, Matt is going to do a little demo of how you can download a CSV version and upload that. So then I will stop sharing here.
Dismiss. Share your screen, Matthew. It's what they're waiting for. Okay. So yes, I am going to also bring up the chat so in case anybody asks any questions. So one of the questions that I actually got this morning was walking through how to rebuild via the CSV. And so it's not difficult. It's just one of the things that you're going to have to be aware of is when you create a table via CSV, Excel, anything locally, you have to update it manually instead of relying on the Google Sheets, always reading the data table, always reading from the Google Sheet aspect of it. So here's the demo Google Sheet that I often use as part of my testing. It's just a bunch of pitching statistics that I grabbed. So what I can do is I can go to File, Download, and I can download it as several different options. I can download it as a CSV. You can see I already did it this morning, so I've got it downloaded. So then when we go to data tables, I can click Create a Table. I can create a table. So normally you have this one here, which is the link to source, which is on which is using the Google spreadsheet usually. But I'm going to use this one, the second row bottom. Create a data table by importing data from a data source. I'm going to be importing it from a file that I'm going to upload. So I'll click that, click next. It's going to ask me to browse for it. And so I already have it in there. So I will click on it. And otherwise, I could go and I could upload that CSV and then choose it from here. But I did upload it earlier. Then I will click choose file. Click next, and it will populate all of the various information in there. Pitching stats demo 2. I can give it a table description if I want to. I leave everything else alone. And then I can go down here and make the changes that I know I need to make it look good. So I'm changing some integers to one-line strings. But essentially what I could do now is if I wanted to, I could reorder this if I felt like my columns weren't lined up correctly. I could add an additional column that would be a manually entered column if I needed to. And then once I had that in there, I could click create table at the bottom right and then open in standard editor is what I'm going to do. You could also open in an Excel-like editor. I tend to work out of the standard editor for most of my tables,
Same.
although the
It just seems
Excel
easier.
the Excel one makes sense if you're just strictly dealing with data entry. It works, but I kind of want to see what it looks like when I'm building it out. So obviously here you can see here's the table. I can do all the various table things that I want to do to it to make it work. Limit to page width. Wrap to new lines is something that I usually pick. Save my changes. If it never matters, I tend to also get rid of. There are the table tools option here, which is the download options over there. I tend to get rid of those if it doesn't matter. Essentially, what I'm trying to do whenever I'm creating a table, be it Google Sheets, whatever it might be, I try to make it as less cluttered as possible, least cluttered as possible, because I'm already presenting information. And in a lot of cases, the data is going to be overwhelming, and I don't want to overwhelm a person even more with a bunch more stuff on there for them to see. So, anywho, there's all of that, and then I save it. And now what has to happen is whenever I want to add an entry, I'd have to click on new entry right here, and I just, add the various things, and then I'll say okay, and then I'm in there, but I don't know what I have it sorted by. I'll be in there. Don't worry, trust me. But that's how you add them. But if you need to edit any, you can click on the row, and then the edit button or edit option becomes available, and now I can go in and change anything that I need to about that particular row of information. Oh, I entered it wrong. That's why. Didn't follow my own format. Anyways, that's that. So that's basically it. That's all I wanted to show people based on the questions that I got this morning was how do you take a CSV down, or how do you get a CSV from your Google Sheet and then create a table based on that particular CSV there. The one thing that I will say is we're hopeful that a fix will be soonish, quote unquote. So if you can wait. But this is one way to get around it. Like Jenna said, this is one workaround that does exist. So, any question?
Unfortunately, like in the past, there would be little things that you could just do in your Google Sheet itself that would allow this to work in a like for a temporary period, but there is nothing that we found that works, unfortunately.
And in the past, what I would do is whenever these errors would crop up, I would literally just recreate the Google Sheet and then recreate the table on the
Yeah.
page. The problem that we're running into is it's affecting new
New
tables.
sheets. Yep. Yeah. I
Yeah,
tried that immediately and I was like, oh
yeah,
man.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's sort of a weird one.
I guess I yield the floor for other questions that may be. I think that's really all we had to talk about um, today, in particular to stuff that we've got going on with WiscWeb specifically. Like Jenna said, we're Gutenberg heavy. We're building testing, and building some really great stuff for you guys. So we're excited. We've joked, I joke, and maybe some of you will start to feel this as you've tinkered in um, the user test, and maybe those of you who have done the WordPress playground as well. I love building in the Gutenberg editor now, and whenever I go back to current UW theme, I'm like, I can't, no. It's just humorous um, how different it feels when you're working in something that is just
Yeah.
more modern.
It takes a little bit like to understand it, but then once you get it, you're like, oh, this is good. Yeah. Kind of like when we switched to WordPress, though. I think I had a similar, I was like, oh, I don't know. And then it was like so much better. The refreshing feeling of Gutenberg. Yep.
In Gutenberg.
Do people have questions about user testing? Anything that came up that we didn't cover last time?
I'll drop this in here. Again, our user testing is done, so you don't have access to your sites anymore. But the WordPress playground is still available. And while you won't have access to any of the UW theme stuff that you tested during that 2 week period, you can still go and play with blocks. You can still go play with the patterns that are default in WordPress. You can still kind of get a feel for that, because I know that was one thing that people were very in the user interviews that we did, and also in some of the feedback that you all provided in the user testing aspect of it. Understanding when to use a pattern versus when to use blocks is something that we're definitely going to have to make sure that we touch on quite a bit, and really uh, really sort of focus on like when. And another thing is, sorry, my brain skipped a beat there. And focusing on when a pattern is great, and then you can break that pattern apart into the multiple blocks that exist within it to then make it more your own. So it is going to seem overwhelming at first because there's so much more you can do with it, but it's also it's also straightforward once you get comfortable with using the blocks. It all comes down to that block list view. That's basically what I'm thinking. So Jenny, that's a good question. Let me see if I've got photos. So, I don't know if I have. Where are you, downloads folder? Hide the chat, hide the chat. Okay, so let's find. Okay, I don't need live video editing. Hey, there's my son. So let me open up this one right here. So essentially what it boils down to is clear. Okay. So the question is seeing some people who have um, not as quote unquote tall hero images um, in the classic editor, in the current, we call it classic, we'll call it current version of the UW theme. So just for reiteration, when it comes to the hero image area, the big thing to be aware of is the fact that you need to have very specific dimensions when you are creating your hero. And quite honestly, in those dimensions, the one that matters the most is the width, the 1600 pixels wide. Our recommendation is 1600 pixels wide and then 500 pixels high. So I use Photoshop for all of my photo editing, and honestly, cropping images and maybe editing color are the two things that I use Photoshop for the most. So like Photoshop is very overwhelming, but I literally use it for two things, and that's it. Lots of great stuff in it, but I make use of two of them. So in Photoshop, you have this crop tool right here on the left, and when you choose the crop tool, you have the ability to predefine what your dimensions are. So, 1600 pixels wide by 500 pixels high, and then I do 72 pixels per inch. So that's what we recommend for the hero area. But if I wanted to, I could take this one down to 300 if I wanted to. And now I could make myself a smaller. So let's go with Cthulhu's eyes right there. And so now I've got that 1600 wide, 300 high. The reason why the 1600 wide matters is because the space that we have designated for the hero area has to be 1600 pixels wide. And I see this far too often when people try to use just general photos as part of their hero area. But if an image is not 1600 pixels wide, what it does is it stretches it to meet that 1600 pixels wide requirement. And because it stretches it this way, it has to compensate and also increase the height of that image as well. So you get some very pixelated, poor quality images in hero areas. So that's the reason why that 1600 wide is the one that matters the most. So what I've done is instead of 500, I've taken it down to 300. I'll save a copy. Bum 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 bum. We'll throw it on the desktop here, and we'll just call it Cthulhu 1.jpg. Save it. Okay. And then we'll bounce back on over to my page. We'll go to my testing page, add the upper content hero, add the image, upload the file, go to the desktop. Select it, update it. And then there we go. And so that's how you do it. So it does require some photo editing skills, but honestly, it just requires you cropping it to the right dimensions. And then I'll really quick grab the KB doc that I used to walk people through this stuff. Kind of walk people through how to use that particular those particular tools in Photoshop, the cropping tool with the predetermined sizes and things like that. So let's see. The NFL has been amazing helping expand an image to fit the hero image. That's good to hear, Linda. I have not tinkered with the AI stuff too much in Photoshop. Dun, 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 dun. Canva template. Yep. Yeah, I think we talked about that previously, Vanessa. Yeah, you have some good setups with the Canva tool. All right. Other questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, critiques? Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom.
Hi, I've got a WP data tables question, and I wrote in this morning with a different question, and Jenna answered that one for me, but it occurred to me that I have another one. So I'm going to drop a link to our data table webpage in the chat here. And what I'm trying to do is that we have got a subject column on the right there, and it comes off of a Google Sheet. Oh, you just
Sorry,
had it.
and
Yep,
so that I can.
yep, there it is. So sometimes we have more than one subject in that right-hand subject column there.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to get it, and they're separated by a semicolon. And I'm trying to get it so that my subject filter just lists the individual subjects, but will retrieve ones where it appears in there anywhere. And so I was messing around it in the settings, and now when I use those filters, it's not, it's looking for like an exact fit for that. So if I do criminal law and procedure, it will only get the ones where that's exactly what appears in that subject column and not ones that include it with other stuff. And I'm wondering if there's a way to do what I want to do because I've never tried to get it to work this way before.
Yes, but um, so yes, there is a way, but it requires I'll call it nonsense, but it requires a little bit of nonsense work for you in the back end.
Okay.
And it's busy work, honestly. That's really what it is. But what I would do is I would, so like, let's say, for example, I have category.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, what I would do is um, I would add in how would I do this? I'm thinking my brain stopped there because it was going to work and then it wasn't going to work because I know why it wouldn't work. So what I would do is how many categories do you have roughly?
Let's see. I think like maybe 20, something like that.
Okay. All right, that's not going to work. 20 is too many.
Okay.
Because my initial thought was what I could do is I could if it was like five or so, like you go, criminal justice.
Mm-hmm.
And in there I would go, yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Then the filter, you would have filters at the top for, you know, criminal justice, yes or
Oh,
no.
just list them all. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's going
yeah.
to be too many. It'll clutter it
That's
up.
that's too many. You think?
I mean, like, if you search in the search
Yeah,
for one of those keywords, is it getting him?
yeah, it would because
Yes.
you could do the search. So
It
Yeah.
does, yeah, but the nice thing about the subject dropdown is it's sort of a subject browse, so you can kind of see like what your
Yeah.
options are and what there is.
I'm
mhm.
wondering. And then also like the search is off to the right. I don't think you can have it align with the other ones though.
No, you can't because the search is defaulted there and everything else
Yeah.
goes up. Um, the other
Okay.
th- the other thing that we could do is let me go back to my Let's go to my test page again. Bingo, Ringo. Let's update that
Oh,
page. All right, then let's view this page quick, but we're gonna change some things out. So here's my demo page. One thing that you could do is you could um I think what you could do is sorting and filtering. Oh no, you can't.
I think I figured it out, actually.
Oh, hit me.
Okay, so first what I had done is in the subject, the column setting for subjects, under data, I did define values list so that I could pick which ones I want and not have the ones that were separated by semicolons.
Oh.
So first I did that, and then I had the behavior that you were seeing there. And then after that, I went into, and I have enable advanced column filters set for the whole table. And then under subject column settings, under filtering, I unchecked enable exact filtering, which allows it to do a partial match. So now if you,
We refresh this guy.
yeah, refresh that one. And then if you do like general under the subject drop down there and scroll down, you should see some that have general and something else then.
Oh, let's see. How does legislation treat that?
And I'm not sure which of these like have, you know, are in one of those multiple fields. Legislation, yeah. Yeah, there we go.
There you go. Hey, you found it.
Yay! Okay, well, thank you. It might have
Can you-
taken me a long time to get around to spending time on that, so.
Can you show that setting again?
Let me see if I can grab the data table that she's in to have her.
Yeah.
Which one? It's the all law databases
It's
one.
all, yeah, top doesn't have any filters in it, so.
Okay, so you first thing you did was you went into the subject column settings.
Yes. And then
Okay.
under data, I had to set it so that I was choosing my values there. And because otherwise, you know, for a long time, our dropdown also had a separate list for, had a separate entry for all those semicolon delimited ones, which I did not want. So I just, you know, I said,
Wow.
read it off the table, then
Yep.
get rid of all the ones I don't want. So that was the first thing. And then I went to filtering for that column.
And then
And I had to uncheck that. That was the key
Yep.
to, that was the last step.
Wow. I don't think I've ever played around with that option. That's a good find.
yeah. The only thing I don't know how it would look. You may have wanted to look at the multi-select box. It might not look that great, but like if somebody was looking for, if they really
Right,
did
they
want
wanted
to
to filter
find,
by two subjects.
they wanted to find the combos. I mean, but I think the multi-select box doesn't look nearly as good as the select box drop down. So you might be okay. I mean, I guess just kind of hang out to see if if you notice any issues with accessing it.
Yeah, yeah, and I think just the way it is now is an improvement over the way we've had it for years. So I'll experiment with that and see. Well, thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Thanks for stumping me. Stump. All right. Bum, 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 bum. Let's see. Photo library, yes. Recommend greatly. No.
But I updated it. What?
Let's see here. Go to us. I'm going to put the URL in here for the campus photo library. And then Unsplash is also another one that I think Linda recommended as well. I've used that one when I need more non-UW but still generic type images. Oh, I don't know. That's the way it's always been because it's a
That's
really
so nice.
long. It's
Yeah.
such a long, convoluted URL. So
I didn't even think of it, but that's so good to know.
Yeah.
Linda has a question. I should
And that-
probably know this already, but I never had to do this before. I found a page in a project website that I'm helping update. Is there a way to find out where that page is linked to within the website? Like in the menu, Linda?
think if you're looking
Or like in
for-
page?
if it's like in-page content, your best option might be to use the search functionality of the site.
So I found like
Yeah.
a page that I updated, but I was trying to figure out how a user who comes to the website gets to that page. And it looks like it's not linked anywhere. But I'm just wondering if there's a way in dashboard to look at a page and say, find out where in the website is that page linked. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay,
My answer is I don't think so.
okay,
I
okay.
Yeah.
don't think so either. I think what Scott said is probably, even though it sounds like weird to go on the front end for it, like once you can see the front end page that's linking to it, then you can then go to that page and update if you have to change the link or something.
I'm sorry, I missed what Scott said. He said do a search?
Yeah, like on the front end on the
Okay.
search.
Okay.
Yeah.
Might not be the most complete answer, I guess, but that should search through like text boxes and different forms of content on the pages.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you do a search, you find all the pages that link to that page also. Yeah, okay. Well, and I think what we found out is that it's not linked anywhere. It was just this orphan page, but I thought maybe there was a way to just look at a page and say, oh, we're linking to it from this post and from this other page and so forth. Okay, thanks.
I don't think there's a way to look at the structure of that type of stuff. Any other questions, brainstorm thoughts? I will throw out there, because I've been having these conversations lately, a lot of new people are coming on for uh, site management, site administration. If you haven't already, and for those of you who use Google Analytics, please make sure there's a built-in way for you to transfer ownership, or for someone to transfer ownership of your various Google services that you might use. Adding a service account address in as an admin ownership type thing. Although even that's, no, wait, no, that's a different thing. So, but I've been having those conversations often now of new person comes on, person has left, person is the one who set up Google Analytics, but no way to transfer that data. And we can't. I have no way to go in and say, here's what your stats were for the last 4 or 5 months. So just make sure that you're managing that. Also, please make sure you're going in and setting primary contacts for your site. That helps us out a lot. That is really going to be important when we get to the migration process, whatever that's going to look like, because we're going to have to reach out to site admins and primary admins to work with you through this process. So
Yeah, and it is okay if it's more than one person, but it's helpful to know like these
yes.
are the people who can decide things for the site
Yeah.
versus like this is just a student who worked with us like 6 years ago.
This is the person who requested the site.
I'm sorry if I missed it, but we're kind of in that situation. Can you show me where that is set so I can make sure that that's
Yeah.
something that makes sense for us?
Yeah, so if you go to your users list, I'm probably gonna get this wrong because I don't do it, but for example, if we go
Yeah, if
edit
you hover.
you, Katie.
Primary contact.
Primary contact. Yep, it's in the edit. You're editing your WordPress profile essentially, but there's a checkbox that says check this box and click update user to set as a primary contact.
Okay, I'll make sure we have something in there that makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah. Yep.
Can I piggyback off of that comment with one quick question? So I just started another site that I'm helping with the servant leader group. I'm doing all the design part of it, but the idea might be that someone else might want to contribute to like do blog posts. Is there a way to just allow someone in the door just narrow enough to do a blog post and not break everything else?
There is like a funky workaround you can do through Gravity Forms if you really
Okay.
want. You can set up a Gravity Form to post feature that allows you to, like, they would essentially be able to create a draft post without necessarily having to have access to the whole site. And then I'll let Matt chat about these options too.
Yeah,
Yeah, so there was the author role.
I was just looking at the roles and wondering, is author or whatever they were there, author or contributor, those are not, it's not like they can just author blog posts.
Yeah, they can author. So a blog is a post.
Right, that's, yeah, so
Um,
posts.
Um, I guess I have never tested it if because WordPress, any theme within WordPress uses the idea of pages, but pages are essentially posts. So
Right.
my curiosity there is, if it says that they're able to write, edit, and publish their own posts, does that also mean that they're able to write, edit, and publish their own pages?
Mhm.
Yeah, so Andrea confirms that because a page is technically a post. So you may want to give that depending upon what their work flow needs to be, you
Right.
maybe would want to give them the contributor role and someone would have to go in and then approve it. Or, you know, they would only be able to create their own stuff. So there's no incentive for them to create pages instead of posts if they are taught correctly to just create posts.
Yeah, so contributor is more on the line of totally not a web design, graphic design type person, but they want to write a note that's going to
Yeah.
go up on the news page or whatever.
Yes.
Contributor is probably the right category, and then me or the other administrator for this group would hit approve.
Yes.
Okay. I'll work on that idea. But Jen, you also said that there could be like a gravity form that pushes right to
Yeah, it
posting.
depends like on kind of your goals because like
Yeah.
contributor, I just tested this in an incognito window and you will just see like posts, but I can also see plugins.
Okay.
I just can't like edit them. So I can see the post page and I can see like UW events and stuff. I can't do anything with it, so it's not so bad. But if you were like, we don't even really want them to like have to log in or something like that, you could create a form that just publishes or well, it doesn't actually publish it. It creates a draft post. So you can like, there's form fields that will
It
kind
can
of
post.
map to posts.
There's an option in there that says that it could post. It could post it right
Oh,
away.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought it like automatically went to draft. Can you show Matt, like just go into like a Gravity Forms and then I can show which fields? It just kind of depends on what your goals are.
Yeah, I guess ish. I can show it. There's a
Yeah.
And you don't have to spend
to
a
it that
ton
we
of
could
time
read
on this.
about which in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are down below there are these post fields
Yeah.
Okay.
that you can use to then generate the dog is here. That can generate the posts themselves. I did this once, I've tested this once, but I don't remember the full process to do it.
Yeah. In my experience, it created like a draft post. So like if you give it a title field, a body field, an excerpt field, and maybe like a post image field in the form, then someone who's not a user on the site can fill out that information. It'll create a draft post and then you'll see it. And you can I think you could set it up to like notify you when they've submitted it. It will upload media to the media library though. So just noting that. But then when you're ready, you would just post it.
Sure. So it's really going to get vetted through me anyway if
Yeah.
someone wants to use this, right? But
Yep.
you said it
Either way,
wouldn't,
I think.
Yeah, here's that option I was talking about, Jenna. It's
Oh, yeah.
have the drop down here to automatically
That seems
publish.
really risky to allow someone to
It
like
absolutely
publish a
does.
post on
Yeah,
a
yeah.
live site.
I mean,
Um,
thinking like, I'm going to give an example of the director of your department who is totally a viable person who might send out an email blast to the entire unit, could also send a public message on the website, but you don't want them to get in and break things and turn off all your heroes and all those other things. It's just like, oh, you write messages to a group, you can also post here, is kind of my thinking.
yeah, I think
Okay.
contributor would hit that. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I
Thank
would
you.
say in this situation, you should probably do the contributor role. I mean, just from the WiscWeb standpoint, I don't think we should. I would advise people to not use that form to post because that can get incredibly dangerous.
Yeah,
If
I could
you
see
not
that
set it
being
up
like,
correctly and you're publishing posts that people are submitting forms to, you could
yeah, I
very
don't like
quickly
the
end up
idea
with
that
spam on your site. I would
I
not.
had no idea that you could actually publish.
Yeah.
It used to just be draft. They must have added that option.
Yeah. I mean, in that case, that'd be something where if I was going to create a form like that on my site that a particular person was going to use, I would put I would basically I would make them bookmark the page
Right.
and then I would put that page behind that ID.
Sure. So it wouldn't be a public thing.
Yeah.
You could see, right? Okay.
Yeah. But but it does open the door for internet nonsense.
Sure. That makes sense. Okay. This is helpful for strategy of how to go forward.
Yeah. And then Kelly, to answer your question, if you're in there, so if you're in here as the primary contact, it's because you would have been the one. Oh, well, Jenna said she can change it for you, but I'm gonna walk you through it anyway. What you can do is, so if I go to my users list for here, and here's my user. So let's make me the primary contact of this site. So now I'm the primary contact. So what I could do is I could go in and I could edit whomever it is that I need to make the new primary contact. So we'll go edit my user, make this user the primary contact.
Hey, Matt, I don't have, so I started Paul's, but when I hover over, under me, it has edit and view, but under Paul, it says remove or view.
Yeah,
not
I think
edit.
it's because you can't do it for someone else. They'd have to do it for themselves, which is why we have super admin roles, so we can do it for you. I was able to change yours, Kelly, but I think there's a limitation, if I
Oh, yeah,
recall, about this where a person has to do it to their own user account, maybe.
okay. Because
Unlimited.
I have, because I start a lot of them and then hand them off, so I may
Yep.
just, I'll check on those,
Yeah.
because I don't want to be the primary contact for all their sites. Great, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, forget super admin, unlimited power. Any other questions? 5 minutes left.
Quick comment. So I'm going to assume, oh my God, that's heavenly, that in Gutenberg, which I did not get a chance to be in that testing it series, like I was just going in and making a lot of changes to our site. And in the current way, I put in an image and then I go preview it. It's like, nope, need to put in extra space. I go back over. I put in extra space, go back to preview. Nope, got to put in one more. That won't have to happen in Gutenberg block editor. Is that right?
Do you mean like in line with your, so like, do you mean like extra space line by line or character by character or like section by section?
Just trying to get this image just because it invariably, between the text, getting that text and getting that image aligned just right takes so much back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah. So,
But with an image, it'll be in a block and I'll get to see exactly where it is.
yeah, and there's ways to lay out. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but there are it's called grouping, and there are ways to group content together so that it lays out a particular way that you want, and you could format left, right, things of that nature. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's something that I have to see. I'd have to tinker with to see like how it's going to work with the UW, because I think the image block itself doesn't inherently allow for word wrapping, but there is a way to adjust it to be a group block with an image and a paragraph block in it that then could accomplish what it is that you're trying to do there. So there are ways to accomplish it. I just can't think of it off the top of my head of how we do it. But yes, because there's also a block called a spacer block, which you can throw in to manipulate space between uh, content, essentially.
So that link I just put in there, I cannot tell you how many times, just for that map on the left-hand side up here, because invariably the last line would be dangling over there to the left. And I think, okay, well, I'm going to make that image just to, I'm going to change the custom size of it. Nope, not enough. Whoop, not enough. Whoop, not enough.
Yeah.
Oh my God, because I can't, I don't know, that's exhausting. And getting those two pictures side by side, if I put one space extra, boom, they're all thrown off.
I think what I would have done here. Whoa, did you just start to fall asleep in my hands? I just talked and he like jumped. Sorry, bud. Invariably, what I would have done to fix this, Kelly, I would have put, if I knew that I wanted, if I knew I wanted it to be like this, I would have created as 2-column 40 60.
I know.
I would have put the image over here. I would have had the text end right where I wanted it to, and then I would have put a second one underneath here to a second like content layout under here, and then I would have put the extra text in down there. I would have jury rigged. I would have MacGyvered it.
Well, I MacGyvered it too. I did that.
Yeah.
I tried that whole 2-column business and text and photos, and I now know about this, how to bring two, not page elements, content blocks, so like but right together, right?
Flatten out the margin.
You taught me that one recently. So my question is, when 2 columns is not the answer, when it just still doesn't work, is Gutenberg block, because I have been kind of thinking to myself, oh, good, this block thing, I'll see where it lands with the text. And I'm concerned about that comment, though, you just made, how I'm not going to be able to, like this right now has text wrapped around it. Not at the top, but certainly at the bottom. And I'd like, so that concerns me a little bit.
Yeah, let me see here. So, and I guess image, I go to my media library, here's the image here. And then if I hit, let's see, formatting. So then if I hit, if I go beneath it and I, lorem ipsum, la la la, let's just go grab all the lorem ipsum here. So it's, obviously it's not going to do there. So what I would do is, I think what I would do is I would group these.
Or make the image smaller. You can still float it. You can still float it to the left.
How do I do that though? Do I do the align?
Correct.
Line left? There we go. Okay. So then I'd have to play around with that, but then what I would do is I would change this width here so that was a little bit wider, and then I could play around with the size a little bit more.
This is in Gutenberg block, obviously.
This is a Gutenberg block, yeah.
Well, I already like that I can change the size of an image and see the text change along with it, that I can drag this image into the size that I want and see.
Yeah.
That already is easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And like so like if you'll see over here, I clicked in, so like I'm looking at the settings of this particular image block, and then I put my cursor over here in the width area, and I'm literally just using my mouse scroll button to go up incrementally to play around with that a little bit more. So, but the key to this is I put it in this group block so that I have more abilities to manipulate the way that it's laid out. And this is one of those things that came from the user testing is we're really going to have to teach people how to best make use of those grouping blocks, the row, the stack, the column, the straight group block there. So, but yeah, this will sort of accomplish what it is that you're looking to do.
Right. I also, when you showed that where you were in and out, I think the current format also has the ability for me to just adjust a picture. Well, it does. I'm doing it. There's something about been doing it so long, it's just like I still have to go preview, and it's like nope, that's not just right.
Nope. This, I mean, that's kind of one of the nice what I do. I guess this is a me thing, but like let's say for example, I'm editing this particular page here. What I do is I'll click on the view page. It'll open it in the new tab. I literally stack them side by side. And so I will make my changes, save it, refresh. Make my changes, save it, refresh. And this is easy. It works good for me because I have a wide monitor to do this kind of thing on. And I also have dual monitors. So if I wanted to, I could slide this over here to this monitor and then edit in this one. And then, save, refresh, save, refresh, save, refresh. That's another thing to maybe take a look at doing as well. But I think once, again, I joked earlier, editing in Gutenberg has spoiled me quite a bit now because I have been exposed to what can be and what will come.
Yeah, I'm hoping for that too, for that experience.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep. All right, we are over time, so let me stop ye old sharing. Let me stop ye old recording.